And I'm so excited to see everybody's faces. Hi, Natasha. All right. Take it away, LB.
Hi guys. So I'm LB and I'm a data nerd. I'm just gonna preface that. So my goal today, is to not get too deep into data. I really just kind of want to.
LB, wait, you have to unmute yourself.
Yep, there we go. Okay, so I don't know what I was saying, but that's okay. So I love data, and those are honestly like words I never thought that I would say. When I didn't really understand data, it really scared me. And like all I really want to stress today is the fact that sorry, my dogs are like making really crazy sounds behind me. Just ignore them. I will. Data is not something to be afraid of. It's something to dive into and kind of get excited about. And that's really what I want to do today, is just kind of chat for a little bit on like areas where we can measure, what we can report on, who we can go to, and then break out into a conversation of questions where we can dive in together to talk about like what we're doing, what we can do better. And that's really my goal. So my very first job as an alumni coordinator was at a very, very data-driven company. And that terrified me because I initially thought that data would show that I was failing, right? Like I was terrified that the numbers would show that like I wasn't doing a good job, or I wasn't doing something the way it should be done. And when, in all honesty, like the numbers were able to show me where I needed to change, where I needed to improve, and it showed what was successful. So I wanted to touch on like why data is important to you and your organization. So data can show positive outcomes, trends in the community, value, and most importantly, it can increase your confidence around what you're doing. Michael Arnold said something to me. She's like, we fail forward with data. Like we grow through data. And I thought that was so beautiful. And it's important because it can build your confidence, and you can grow through what you're doing. It shows value in your alumni services. And that's oftentimes what many people want to see, why we do this, why it's valuable. And it also builds trust with other departments that may not really understand what you're doing. I found that was a hang up. Like the clinicians didn't know why we had an alumni program or what it actually did. Like how we measured that. As the same with like the admissions department, they didn't really know what I was doing. Marketing. Yeah, hush. Okay, and then simple basics of like what we should measure and report on. I have alumni referral admissions, number of events held, number of Google reviews received, because that was one that was part of my department was Google reviews. It was really important to the company I worked for. Some people don't have that in their area, and that's okay. Number of outcome surveys returned, number of meetings and contacts made with the alumni, with sober livings and nonprofits, and then budget spent that week. So after this, when you guys go into Basecamp, you'll see that I've uploaded all of these categories, and I've also put a worksheet in Basecamp that it's an Excel spreadsheet, so you can just take it, and it's literally dated every Friday from the beginning of this year to the end of this year. And it has all of these categories already plugged in. You can change those categories, make them however you want, but it'll help you to report weekly, monthly, and quarterly on these categories. So just if you're not doing anything yet, that's okay. This gives you like a jumping off point of like where to kind of start, where to dive in. And then I also just wanted to touch too on like who you should talk to better understand maybe what you should be reporting on and how. Like first and foremost, you should, have a conversation with your CEO. If you've never sat down with them and asked what the expectations are around alumni programming and data to report on, do that. Have a transparent conversation around data. what they're expecting. So maybe you guys can talk about realistic expectations. Your direct report, like whoever your manager is, would also be a great person to go to. I would have a conversation with the therapists or clinicians or whatever you have at your organization. Maybe you have coaches, for peer-to-peer. Talk to them, like get their feedback on what they would like to see and like what shows success to them. And then admissions department, because that alumni referrals piece, alumni referrals that were admitted was huge for me, and to like show my value to that department. It justified what I was doing, the budget that I got to spend, and my salary, in all honesty, like what they had me for. Because I couldn't just simply go to the CEO and say, I do this because I'm passionate and people need this for sustained recovery. Like the emotional appeal didn't work for someone that needed to see the numbers behind it. So those are all really important pieces too. And like maybe setting up a plan with your admissions coordinators as to how they document an alumni referral admission. Like what that's boiled down to, and how they report on that in your systems or spreadsheets. All right, so let's see, what time are we at? Okay, perfect. So I have some breakout questions that I want to put in the chat for everyone to kind of break out into small groups and talk about what you're currently measuring and how, what's working for you, and what do you need to improve on? What is the data that will show your success? What does leadership want to see if they've shared that with you? And what your biggest challenge is around that topic? And then how do you goal set realistic expectations? Like how do you find that number, or what does that look like for your organization? Because I have a feeling it'll be different everywhere. So I want to let me put these in the chat real fast.
And everyone will automatically get assigned to a breakout room. So just let it happen. Surrender to the breakout room process.
Surrender to the breakout room, and then bring back ahas, experiences, things that you shared. Like we want to all talk about this when we come back. So I look forward to hearing all of the insights.
And how much time, LB, will they have?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, so ignore whatever time it says on the breakout room. So you'll have 20 minutes, and then I'll give you all a 10-minute warning and a 5-minute warning. And so here we go. See everyone when you get back. Hello, hello.
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 Hello. Welcome back, everybody.
Hey, Emily, I've got this Dave Cunningham with the Augustine
Hi.
Recovery Center. Hey, I talked to Michael, I don't know, a week or so ago, and was wondering who else. I mean, I know I can talk to Geckler, but is there anybody else I can talk to about membership? I've got a few more questions about that. Is it best to contact you?
It would be best to contact me. I would love that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I'm gonna put my email in here in the chat so everybody has it. anybody who wants to talk about membership, I am always excited and happy to do that. And we also have Kevin, who is our co-president with Michael Arnold. Say hello, Kevin.
Oh,
Hello. He's a great person
There's
to talk to
Michael.
as
I
well.
didn't know you were on here.
That's me.
I just jumped on, David. I was at a different meeting, so hi.
Hello.
Hola.
I'm like, hola, mi amigo. What's-
Hello.
So is
Hello,
it bad,
everybody.
Michael? Was it bad that all of our answers were okay? Just ask Michael.
That's Michael. Sure.
Okay. I'm so glad. It looks like everybody's popping back in. I'll put LB right back in there.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
1 second. Let me do that. Hang on. You're gonna have to unmute yourself, LB. I'm gonna mute everybody. There we go.
All right. So that was a quick 20 minutes. We maybe should have done longer, I think. We were like really kind of diving in pretty deep and then we had to pop out. But this is like a wonderful opportunity to come back to this main room. I would love for people to like raise their hand and share like insights, ahas, like things that you learned or things that you would like to do differently. I would love to like hear more questions. And if we needed to, we could break out again because we still have plenty of time. So let me like pull my big screen up to where I can see if people are like raising their hand. Yeah, and we'll just open it up and we'll go from there.
And if you want to, you can physically raise your hand if you'd like, or you can also, when you go into, again, the participants, there's a little option to do raise hand. Not everybody at once.
Yeah.
Yes, Kevin.
Kevin.
hey, yeah. So first of all, you did an awesome job of putting some good questions in there, and it kind of got us going a little bit. I think we were able to talk, I think both about some very sort of specific questions that people have asked, and in terms of like what leadership was looking for, and then saying, okay, we're using that as a starting point, and then sort of continuing to evolve it and grow it to be, one, more sophisticated, but two, to sort of expand the knowledge of leadership as to what are the activities that we're doing and why. So looking at, potentially if the idea is to work with, outcomes of a specific population, say like, okay, here's what we're going to be looking around that, and or what Jordan, sort of shared about, what her, that sort of employment series that she's doing, and how we can, help people, better from that. And so if you look at something like, what David Whitesock is doing, and looking at, measuring all sorts of aspects of recovery and saying, okay, this is how we're trying to influence these specific areas here. That's sort of way to do it. Or it could be just, from an organizational standpoint, what are some of the activities that we're doing, that we're measuring, that ultimately ladder up to outcomes or reduction of time of relapse, or anything like that. We're all sort of like, I think, good directions for people to kind of challenge themselves, like past the very, very obvious, measures that sometimes we start with.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. There's so many areas, you can like really dive deep into so many areas with the data. And that's why I tried to like keep it pretty simple, like with the initial, like what I reported at an L10 weekly, and then of course on my side, I did a lot more digging, much deeper into a lot of those areas that you were talking about, Kevin. And And so it's, yeah, I mean, you can really go a lot of directions. And it's so interesting. Like in our little group, we were kind of sharing on like the differences of our programs, and like what measurement looks like for each individual place because it is so different. Everybody has a different definition of success or harm reduction or, like what that looks like. So, I mean, you can really dive deep, and I encourage everyone to do that. Like really dive in, get excited about it, nerd out. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, also just to add to it, sometimes too, when looking at the data, it's how to put it in context for leadership too. So not just the state of where it is, but having them understand a trend if it is happening, that it's happening, and so how to look at it differently. So if whatever, say there's a number and that number is 6,000 for whatever it is that we're measuring, is 6,000 good, bad? Is it going up quickly, going down, going down? What do I need to know about that as a decision maker? You can, again, look at the state, but also looking at the trend.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. I'm looking for hands.
Just pick on people.
Oh, Darren.
Yeah, I think what I liked from the breakout was we went into the question of if you're new at data collection and getting data, how do you set realistic goals? Where do you start with your goals? And what is attainable and what is too much? How do you just start building a plan? I can keep going if
No, that's awesome, Darren. Because I know that like for you, measurements, are a little different given like nonprofit and workshop and stuff. So like I said, we can like really go in so many directions.
And what came up was just to really, go to the people that you are relaying this information to, whether that be your boss or an organization or foundation, and say what is something that is we absolutely need to know, right? Start there and then find a way to measure that, and then grow with the development of it. And then we also talked about the meeting we had with TPAS on the RCI, Recovery Capital Index, I think it's called. Maybe start developing something like that for your organization so that there's an easy way for you just to relay, okay, here's where they're at. They're scoring a 70 in this area or 50 in this area. And this is where we can improve, or this is where we can at least start reaching out to these people who are at this place. It makes it a lot easier and relatable if you can just give a number.
Yeah. Thanks, Darren.
LB, I don't know if you or if Darren, if you wanted to go into like what Recovery Capital Index is, that might be helpful for some people. I don't know if you, I know I do. I noticed some people liked writing that down and taking notes. It's a really great resource. It essentially helps measure with a very simple sort of, and it is self-reporting, but very simple, talking about physical well-being, mental well-being, spiritual well-being, and then where they kind of see themselves in terms of self-determination, so they can set their own goals. And we'll talk a lot about it next month as well when we get into recovery coaching and when we're working with our alumni, our people in our aftercare system, helping empower them as their own resource in recovery. And a part of that process is having them do those self-checks. And so when they report that and we get to collect that data, we get to see how we can help them even better. And on top of that, you aren't only measuring things like, sobriety as a milestone that might not be a part of your program, or maybe they're trying to get off medication, maybe they're trying to be more active, whatever that might be. You can help them individualize their goals, obviously, to themselves, but also set more better goals for your organization and how you can best serve each individual if maybe you need to have that person focus more on one of those areas. So I'm happy to share a resource in that link. I'll also post it on Basecamp, but if you haven't heard of it before, Recovery Capital Index, or RCI, it's a really great starting point for people who are not sure, what to ask in these outcome studies.
Yes,
Michael.
I was like, I have something to add to that really quick. I was like, hi, everybody. It's so good to see all your amazing faces on these Hollywood squares. So I just wanted to add to what Emily was saying about the RCI. This is another way to just also really prove your value in your department with alumni, because the results from the RCI and what I have seen with our alumni, it goes back to your clinical team. It goes back to being like, hey, like this whole milieu has been answering the same thing about their environment or the same thing about their wellness. You know, what is something in programming that we might need to change to help these individuals feel better post discharge, right? So these questions are not just for us, but being able to look at and address your leadership team with that authority of being like, hey, when I get these answers, these are going to help our foundation, your institution, be able to create better clinical programming, or maybe like you don't have anything to fix and it just solidifies the amazing work that you guys are doing. So just being able to just, again, show that value that we are a part of the entire organization. We're not off in the corner throwing pizza parties. Okay. We're like doing really awesome things for data tracking. So I just wanted to plant that seed. That's it. I'm done.
Thanks, Michael. Ben.
Yeah, I had a question that you guys just sparked, because I haven't done this yet, but going to the RCI and getting the feedback from the alumni, I would like to ask anybody on the call if you guys have been embedding those surveys in the emails and getting the surveys back that way, or how have you been doing it? I'm just curious.
Does anybody want to share? I mean, I can always share, but I would love for somebody else to chime in. Yeah, Michael.
I was like, we do ours through our app, the Hub app through Cared For. And we just have it on auto. So what's really great when we start doing it is we have a set cadence so that the alumni know that, hey, this is when the survey is coming. And we also let them know that this information is only for our organization. We're not blasting your information to the world. Like, this is for us to make sure that we can better serve the clients, because sometimes people are like, well, why am I filling this out? And also we send them their results so that they can see as well. So it's not just like filling it out and being like, that was cool. It's like they can track it as well. So just kind of having that incentivizing on that end too. So, but email works great too. Like MailChimp also is a great way too. And posting it. If you have a Facebook group or any sort of group, just saying, hey, take a hot minute, homies, and fill this out. Well, take a hot minute. Okay.
Let's see.
For us, we already do send various surveys out, just like for client satisfaction, and we do it like through our software. Like our executive director partnered with this man named Nick, and they made M Treatment, and through that software we can actually send out documents and send out surveys, and then once those are completed, they just like submit it, and then it's like automatically in their chart and in their like e-forms, and we can track it through that way. So that's pretty much what we do right now, and I assume we'll be able to do that further with alumni.
Thanks, Julie.
Can I ask a question? What is an acceptable percent of people, like when you do the survey, there's just going to be some people that aren't going to take it, or your measurement, you just can't reach them. What is an acceptable percentage of your people when you go to your boss or your clinicians and say, 25% we just can't get a hold of, and that's just going to happen?
I know for me in particular, I had a certain number that I sent monthly. And it was like based on length after, like their time after treatment, and like, a lot of different factors. But I was expected to get 11%, an 11% response of the number that I sent that month. So it was always that percentage was always a different number. Because, 1 month I had 75, 1 month I had 120. It kind of depended on graduation rates and like trends that we would see in intakes and discharges. But 11% was my like baseline that I was supposed to hit.
Thank you.
Jordan, did you have your hand raised?
Hey, LB, I wanted to ask specifically, one of the questions I had was about event tracking. I asked it in the base camp, so I'm really excited we're talking about this today. I want to know, so my organization is wondering how others like track partnerships and community events aside from just saying, hey, we did 10 events this quarter or something like that. How do you guys link that back to like alumni coordinator efforts and then back to referrals? Does that make sense? Like, I was kind of talking in my breakout room about like, how do you gauge the quality of those events, like building rapport with your alumni and then further leading to referral sources? Is there a way to gauge that aside from just saying we had 5 or 10 webinars or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to, like how we did ours a bit, but I'm sure everybody kind of does it differently. So I'd be really interested to hear other people share on that. Because like the way that we gauged events was not just like a kickball tournament, like an event was also like our speaker meetings and like how many people showed up, which were also open to the public. So sometimes we had attendance that wasn't just our alumni. And I would document all of that. I did document like all of our TPAS, because in Colorado we have TPAS chapter. So, sometimes we would have 80 people at a kickball tournament, but we would see referrals come in after that. And people would specifically say, I heard about this program because I was at the TPAS kickball tournament and I wanted to find out more about your program for aftercare. And so that would all get documented through the admissions department. They would put all of that in that intake call. And then we were able to track it back to a particular event. But I marked like successful events to me were events that happened and we had people show up. Like obviously you're able to see them grow through engagement and like how many people attend. But other than that, it's like the number of them, people that showed up, and then being able to track referrals after that.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much.
Anybody else?
I was just going to add to that as well, exactly what you were saying, LB, and it also gives you an opportunity to, engage with the different departments. One of the things that we always hear when we're all together is like alumni departments can feel very isolating in many ways. You're sometimes under the marketing, you're sometimes under operations, sometimes you're like out in a portable somewhere off campus. Like we totally get it. We're here for you. And that's why we love having these gatherings. And one piece of that is like stretching your hand across those departments and talking with the admissions people and the operations people and really getting involved and bringing those questions to the table of saying, if you're not asking, if somebody's calling and needing treatment, if you're not asking how they found out about treatment, that's such an important question to ask. And many times, it is something alumni related. And it can be a bunch of other things, but if they're not getting specific on that, including, okay, if it was an alumni, what was the alumni's name? And can we get their phone number? Because you might not have their current phone number. And just like really having the department, drill down on, since we're talking about data, the specifics of it. So it really can come back to the department. And then also you can utilize that data and how your outreach goes on from there. And maybe you hadn't heard from that alumni who referred somebody to treatment in a while, and you reach out to them and they're your next speaker at your next meeting. So having that, coming to the table with that, with your admissions department, having really clear communication is going to also show a lot of value for your organization and be a benefit to everybody.
Yes, Emily, that was gold. It immediately brought me back to, I always called it, if you guys tell anyone this, I'll say I didn't say it. I always called it,
it's recorded, LB.
Oh God. Oh God. I called this campaigning for friends. And I would go to the clinical departments, and because they didn't know like what I did or what my job entailed. And while I would bring them like a summary, and I would usually do a presentation for them on like what we do in alumni programming, what that looks like. So they didn't think it was just barbecues. But then I would also go and like spend time with them every week. And I would sit down in their office and I would share the data with them in different ways. You know, like I always made sure to send out an email to all the clinicians worded one way with pictures after events and stuff. And then I would go sit down with them and like share the data points and talk about it because they wanted to hear the success. Like they wanted to see their clients thriving outside of treatment. But I had to like appeal to them on a different level than say I did with admissions and like trying to get numbers dialed in. But it really gives you like Alumni has this amazing opportunity to work with client facing, you know, employees, admissions department, outreach and marketing, like how you can work with them to get your face in the community more. You really have such a unique opportunity to work with every single area.
Hey, LB, it's Stephanie with Serenity Lane in Oregon. I'm so glad you just said that because that's what I was just thinking. I've been thinking a lot, especially since a lot of us are working from home. You can maybe even feel more isolated these days from what's going on campus. And I've really been thinking a lot about how much value I have to offer the other departments, and that with the ones that it's going really well with, it's folks that I've been able to step up. So like, our 12-step meetings can't come into the facility and we can't get the people out, but all of our alumni are stepping up to become temporary sponsors to people right now. You know, I have like hundreds of alumni at my fingertips who are willing to show up for the organization in all these ways that all these departments need them. Like our detox unit needs alumni story videos. Our admission folks, just like you just said, they just need a story that guy who came in, who was like the hardest intake that they ever had, 2 years later is doing great and he's sober and they did right by him. So, you know, just as the more that I offer those things up, if I go in and I'm like, hey, can we tweak your like intake training just a little bit so we can get another piece of data out of here? And even on a stress day, they're so much more willing to work with me because I've been able to, I've been able to offer them something in return.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. That was so beautiful. Thank you, thank you. And I was so excited to see you. All right. Oh, Emily. Okay, yes. So yeah, Emily said don't forget to put your contact information, name, organization, email, number in the chat if you haven't done that already. And I think we have 3 minutes left, so I want to be mindful of everyone's time. But Emily, do you want to replug our workshop next month?
Yes. First of all, I wanted to say a big thank you and round of applause, muted Zoom applause for LB. You are amazing. Oh, I love seeing that. That was absolutely fantastic. And again, you know, I know it felt like it went by fast. I know that those breakout sessions felt like it went by fast. I know there's so much information here, and I know how hard all of you who have worked in doing data and outcomes, it takes a long time. So obviously we wish we could cover more ground, but we had an hour, and we really appreciate that you spent your precious time with us here this morning / afternoon if you're on the East Coast. We're really excited. Next month, we're going to be doing it March 10th, so it'll be easy to remember. If you want to follow us on Facebook, it's a great idea, on Instagram, so that way you can always have the events. If you put your name in the chat, we'll make sure to get you on our emailing list, so then you can get all of our updates as well. We really encourage all of you to connect with one another in between now and then. If you ever have any questions about membership or how to get more involved with TPAS or how to do more things like this, or if you have any follow-up questions for LB, obviously you can reach out to her. You can reach out to myself. I also put my name and email and phone number in the chat, Michael Arnold, Kevin Zundel, and we're just so grateful that all of you came to join us this morning. If any of you, kind of want to stay on and hang and say goodbye and unmute yourselves, we would love that. And I just hope everyone has such a beautiful day. So thank you again for coming.
And
we appreciate you all.
Too, so
yes, Kevin.
In addition to next month's workshop, which is going to be great, the virtual collaborative, if you go to the TPAS site, you can sign up for that. But another thing, if you have an interest in helping out at the national level, we have a ton of new initiatives that we're working on. And if you'd like to be a part of it, please reach out to Emily or myself or Michael, and you can be kind of part of it all. All right, that's it.
Yeah. Big virtual collaborative in May. Don't miss it. Sign up. It's going to be great.
And use Basecamp, you know, like
Use Basecamp.
Any takeaways from here, questions, you can always use Basecamp because I love to see conversations happening in there and people providing what they're doing and all the good stuff. So thanks again everybody for coming. I really enjoyed this. It was a blast. It always is.
You're so
Thanks,
awesome.
LB. See you guys.
Thanks, LB.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys for coming.
Bye.
Bye. So good to see you. All the smiling faces.
I
Bye.
No, it's so good to see you guys. Ben.
Ben's
Mom,
looking so pensive.
Rockstar. What's happening? You guys, it's just so good to see y'all. You know,
Oh, I know.
I can't wait until we do our collaborative in person.
I know.
Ball.
Yeah, but this is cool. LB, you killed it. You rocked it.
I was like so
Awesome.
excited to have you in my breakout. It was really